In the spirit of fall and Halloween coming up, I want to show you how to paint a few pumpkins. Pumpkins are really easy to draw, but if you have trouble with that, I'm going to attach a PDF file so you can just trace it if you want to. First, you're going to grab some yellow and paint it in some patches around the pumpkin. It doesn't matter really where you put it because it's all going to blend together at the end, so just space them out sporadically. Then rinse your brush and just use it with water and feather out the edges so it's not such a hard line, so that way all the colors kind of blend well together. Then you're going to grab some teal or some blue color and drop that into the white spots. Make sure you put it where it's white and not really on top of the yellow because it'll make green. So you can blend those kind of together. It's okay if it makes a little bit of green, but you don't want it to mix too much. Then you will add a hot pink or bright pink color. And this one's okay to kind of layer because it'll turn into like a purple or an orange, and we're going to use orange anyways. So you'll just place that around wherever you see some white spots, fill that in. Then rinse your brush and kind of feather the edges again so it looks a little bit more blended and not so harsh. Now I'm going to add in just a little bit of orange in any of the spaces I haven't painted yet and kind of blend that. Again, be careful wherever you put the orange because if you layer it over the teal, it'll kind of get muddy, so be real careful around that. You really can't mess this up. It's pretty simple and there's no right or wrong. It's just a matter of finding the colors you like, putting them down on there, make sure they don't mix too much, and then add the orange at the end so that way it really kind of tones it down so it looks like a pumpkin. Then we're going to go in and make a shadow using all the colors we've already used. First orange, then I add a little bit of pink, then some yellow, and just a tiny bit of blue. And then you're going to rinse your brush off and go ahead and feather those edges out again with a clean, wet brush, so that way it's not a harsh line. Now just do the same thing with both pumpkins. It's the exact same process, just try and vary it a little bit so it's not exactly like the first one, which would be pretty hard to do anyways since it's blending wet on wet. But I'm going to speed this part up so that way we don't have to watch the whole process again. Now we're going to get some purple and add some depth to the pumpkins, put some around the stems, and you can do this while it's still wet so it kind of blends out. But if it's already dried, then you can just add a little bit of water to the surface of it, and then that way it should blend out a little bit easier. But we're going to add it around the stems. We're going to add it around the bottom of the pumpkins. And then we're going to go and add our shadows to the other two pumpkins just like we did the first one. Pick up a really concentrated purple this time and add it to the bottom so we get right underneath the pumpkin, and it's going to add a little bit of depth to our shadow. Then just rinse your brush, use a plain wet brush, and feather out the edges of that purple. Next, grab some brown and fill in the stems on all three pumpkins. Next, grab a pen or marker. I'm using a marker brush, just so the lines are a little bit thicker because I like the varying lines that I get, because later on we're going to use a little bit of cross hatching for shading, and that's going to need thinner pen or pencil. And because it's watercolor, you should be able to see your pencil lines from earlier, so all you need to do is outline. Now you could stop here if you wanted to, but I really like to add a little bit of shading. This is the fun part for me. And I used a micron pen, I believe it was an 02. And I just did a lot of extra lines around the base and the top part around the stem, and did some cross hatching in some areas. And other areas I just made some lines, so it just gives it some movement and some interest. I'll go ahead and speed this part up because it's just up to you where you want to add these lines. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine. And then I'll get into the cross hatching for the shadow. Now we're going to add some depth to the shadow by adding some cross hatching. And if you've never done cross hatching, it's really simple. You just make a lot of lines in one diagonal direction and then go the opposite direction and do diagonal lines that way. It's really easy to do. It's really fun. I really like doing it. And then basically you just finish your shadow all the way underneath all of the pumpkins. And then that's it. You're done. You've got 3 colorful pumpkins that are ready to do whatever you like with it. And if you're in need of any watercolor paints, I sell my handmade paints at my Etsy shop, Glitter Me Pink Ink.